Most people that understand crypto and most people that don't understand crypto do have one thing in common, and it's that the cryptocurrency revolution is about technology. Hello, I'm Crypto Casey, and in this video, we are going to talk about why the crypto revolution is not about tech, why people are under the misconception that the crypto revolution is about tech, and what the crypto revolution is actually all about. This content was inspired by yet another amazing tweet thread by macroeconomist Natasha Che. So make sure you swing through and give her Twitter account a follow after this video. Awesome. Let's explore what the global cryptocurrency revolution is actually all about and how understanding this concept will help us make better long-term investment decisions throughout 2022 and beyond. The most common thing all of us new to cryptocurrency missed out on was those sweet, ridiculous gains from being an early investor in Bitcoin. Bitcoin at $1, Bitcoin at $100, Bitcoin at $1,000, and even at $10,000. Why did we miss those gains? Because it was a largely unknown, new, strange technology that wasn't easy to understand or grasp. Early investors either used the Bitcoin for transactions, for fun, or as a potential speculative investment. At the time, most of us didn't realize the importance of a decentralized blockchain-based monetary system. And that's fine, because most people still don't even understand the importance of a decentralized, transparent, immutable monetary system over a decade later. However, you know what some Bitcoin maximalists missed out on? Those sweet, ridiculous Ethereum gains. Why? Because they didn't understand or grasp the potential and power of smart contracts on a decentralized blockchain-based ecosystem. And guess what? Ethereum maximalists missed out on the more recent sweet, ridiculous gains of Solana and Avalanche. Why is it so? Because they didn't realize the need for and power of cheap, affordable, extremely fast transactional capabilities on a decentralized blockchain-based smart contract ecosystem. Starting to see a pattern here? Absolutely. So how can we use this past investment behavioral pattern so we don't miss out on sweet, ridiculous gains in the future? By understanding why we missed those gains, which is the misconception that the cryptocurrency revolution is about technology. So what makes blockchain tech and crypto revolutionary? It's not the technology or the decentralized, transparent, or immutable aspects of the technology. It's not the math, physics, or science of the underlying technology. And it's actually not the sweet, ridiculous gains either. What makes crypto revolutionary is how it's massively changing the way people can create and structure new economies in such a way that massively disrupts how economic output within those economies is distributed. And what the heck does that mean? Let's break it down. What is an economy? An economy is just a fancy word that describes a system of how goods and services are created, consumed, and distributed among a group of people. Let's explore a simplified analogy of an economy. In this example, let's imagine a classroom is an economy, where one teacher is designated to create, produce, or provide knowledge for a group of students to receive, consume, or learn that knowledge. In order to convert that knowledge into grades for moving up in the classroom economy, example, and ultimately converting that knowledge into the creation of new goods and services that will be consumed and distributed in society. So in a sense, schools have their own economies, cities have their own economies, states and regions have their own economies, countries have their own economies, industries have their own economies, and cryptocurrency ecosystems like Ethereum, Solana, and Avalanche now have their own economies. The negative aspect of the creation, organization, and structure of economies we are a part of now is that we don't have any control over how it's created, organized, or structured, and how goods and services are distributed. For example, in the United States, we don't decide how much taxes we have to pay to the government from income we receive by creating, producing, and consuming goods and services. We don't get to decide who and what entity receives welfare from the taxes we pay to the government. We don't get to decide who gets stimulus checks or what companies get bailed out with our taxes. We don't get to decide who qualifies to receive capital to build new businesses or produce new goods and services in the economy. We don't get to decide how much power the government has and how much government officials that decide all of these things get paid or how long they remain in power or what rules they have to follow. So you can see how a small centralized group of elites have decided how the US economy was created, organized, and structured, and ultimately how goods and services, money and assets, get distributed. And more broadly, their power over the US economy greatly affects and influences other countries' economies and the global economy at large. Cool. So now that we understand what an economy is and how only a small centralized group of people get to decide how they are organized on behalf of the entire world, let's think back to blockchain tech and crypto. What makes blockchain technology and crypto revolutionary is not the technology itself. It's how the technology is allowing a massive paradigm shift in how we can all create, organize, and structure our own economies, where we can also decide how goods and services produced within them are distributed to other people and entities. Amazing. So how can we use this knowledge and apply these concepts to our investment practices to decrease our chances of missing out on the latest and greatest sweet, ridiculous gains ahead? Well, we need to understand and embrace the fact that the value of any cryptocurrency project will be proportional to how much and to what extent it helps facilitate this massive paradigm shift of allowing us as a society to organize our own economies and distribute value. And just to put into perspective how revolutionary this concept is, the last major breakthrough in how value was distributed within an economy was in the 17th century when Dutch East India Company designed and launched the first publicly owned entity. For the first time in human history, this allowed a massive amount of people to access a larger piece of the economic pie. So instead of just wealthy people fully owning companies outright, this was the first time people could own shares of a company in the form of stock. The invention of publicly owned entities helped to distribute economic power, which allowed for more wealth equality within societies. But since that time, not much has changed some 500 years later until now. Blockchain technology and cryptocurrencies are lowering the entire global population's barrier to participating and benefiting from new economic systems outside of the control of a small, centralized group of people. Currently, it's the best available solution to social, wealth, and economic inequalities because it allows for the creation of new economies with more equitable value distribution. So applying these concepts to what we discussed earlier, the creation of Bitcoin allowed anyone around the world to claim, send, receive, and store value digitally. Then the creation of smart contract platforms like Ethereum allowed anyone around the world to start building applications on top of blockchain technology that gave us the ability to start designing new open economies. The more easily people can become a part of a new economy in the cryptocurrency realm, transact within it, and the more fairly distributed value is within that economy will determine which projects are more valuable than others. For example, applying the concept of proof of work versus proof of stake projects, you can see how proof of stake blockchain ecosystems through staking mechanisms are more inclusive, more distributed, and therefore superior platforms for creating new successful economies. Anyone around the world can participate in staking within a proof of stake ecosystem. And in a sense, within that economy, they are receiving universal basic income from the staking rewards. It will take our current government systems years and maybe even decades to implement any sort of universal basic income, if they do at all. As the technology continues to develop, the most pressing problems we are encountering now have to do with scaling networks, as well as cost-effective and fast transactions, not necessarily decentralization and privacy. Because currently, the decentralization aspects and privacy concerns are not impeding fast and efficient development of these new economies. Scaling and transactions are creating bottlenecks. So with this in mind, we may consider keeping an eye out for crypto projects that facilitate scaling and cost-effective, fast transaction speeds right now, like Matic, Avalanche, and Algorand, than privacy-focused projects like Monero or Dash. And if you haven't yet, check out my video guide for beginners explaining how to evaluate Layer 1 and 2 crypto projects from a macroeconomic perspective by clicking on the link above. So instead of getting caught up in the ICOs, IDOs, which projects have superior tech, who's doing an airdrop, or other hype cycles, keep an eye out for the next wave that will take us closer to economies that massive amounts of people can become a part of, create and consume goods and services on, and most importantly, equally distribute value over the long term. Awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. If you enjoyed it, please make sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel for more crypto content. So what did you think about this valuation angle? After layer 1 and 2 solutions, what do you think will be the next wave? Gaming and related NFT projects or something else? Let me know in the comments below. Be safe out there.